Okay, in this video I'm going to show how to change grinder burrs. First thing I like to do is I will close the hopper, and this way we're just going to get the beans out of the chamber right now. So with the hopper closed, we'll just run the grinder. We're just going to grind all the extra beans out. I don't have any beans in here now, but usually, your hopper is going to be full and you're going to have beans in between the grinder burrs. We want to get those beans out. So we get those out, turn it off, unplug it. We're going to take the hopper off. I like to put some electrical tape on here just to keep the beans from spilling, because this thing's kind of weird when you lay it down. So we'll take the hopper off. And then the next thing, we get a little screwdriver or something to pry these little covers off with. They might not even be there, but you just get those off, and they'll expose these screws. There'll be 4 of these covers on each of the screws. Just pop those off. Then we will get a 4mm Allen key. We're just gonna remove these screws. Okay, once we have the screws out, we're gonna just kind of wiggle this free. It might be kind of tough to get out, but this just comes right out. Once you take those 4 screws out, this should just come right out. So here's your top grinder plate and your bottom burr holder. Top burr holder, bottom burr holder. And then we have our burrs exposed here. You could do whichever one you want to do first. The top one's much easier to change. Another thing I recommend is usually these are going to be like completely covered in coffee grounds, and especially the screws themselves are going to be very hard to kind of get your screwdriver in. So I like to clean them up, get a small screwdriver, and just kind of get them free of all that coffee grounds. And then you just get your flathead, or sorry, your Phillips. And the top one comes out very easy. And then you'll just go ahead and, unscrew all of those and pop your new grinder on, or grinder burr on. So very easy. They all just come out. And also remember to hold on to these because they don't come with new ones. So just put those somewhere off to the side where they're safe. All right, once you have your burr out, you'll take your new burr, you place it in. Same thing, get the screws, pop them in, and you'll do the same thing. And then it's just important, you do want these to be pretty tight. I see a lot of them kind of loose. So the top one's a lot easier to tighten down because you can just place it and really just tighten it. It's not spinning like the bottom ones. So we'll go ahead and just put our screws back in for the top grinder. Make sure they're tightened pretty tight. All right, once we have our new burrs in the top, we're going to change the bottom burrs. And the bottom burrs are a little trickier because this is free spinning, so we want to always brace it to remove and to install. And again, I will just take a little flathead or some kind of pick, just get all this coffee grounds out of there, because if you don't, you can really strip the screws, and we don't want that. So we want these to be as free and clear of debris as possible. So we're just going to kind of pick away at that, make sure we have a nice clean screw, and then we will brace this end. So we are going counterclockwise, so we'll just put it onto the left of one of these pegs here, and we'll just unscrew it. And we'll do that for all 3 of them. All right, so we have them all unscrewed. We'll just I use the flathead to just kind of pry the old one out, and we'll throw that out, and we'll get our new grinder burr, and we're gonna place it in the burr holder, line up the screws, and then we will get our screws. And what I like to do is I just kind of get them started. So I'll put them all in, but I won't crank down on them yet. Just get them, just put them in place, because on these, again, it's very hard to get them tight without another screwdriver. Otherwise, this thing's gonna start spinning. So we're gonna get our flathead or another screwdriver, we're just gonna place it in front of this tab here, and we're just gonna brace it while we tighten down each screw. And this is pretty important because a lot of these screws, especially on the bottom burrs, I've noticed do not get fully tightened down, and then they will get sheared off by the burrs. It'll damage the burrs, it'll damage the grinding chamber, it'll cause all sorts of issues. So there you go, nice and tight. You can see they're all in place, sunken down as they should be. So then we will get our top plate, and this only goes in one way, so we'll just pop it back in. And the cool thing about putting this whole top part in and not actually just removing the collar here is that it's going to stay relatively calibrated when we put it back together. So we'll place that in, and then we will get our screws, and we'll just go do everything the opposite. We'll just put everything back together, screw it all back in, and then get your caps, put those back in. And then once you have everything back together, you can kind of start dialing it in and calibrating it. That's how you change the burrs.